Herbalism is about seeing the world differently, seeing how we're connected to everything around us, how our mind is connected to our body, and how the way we move through the world affects us. When we approach healing from that holistic place, we're not just fixing symptoms. We're building a new relationship with ourselves, with others, and with nature. My name is Sean Rose. I specialize in mental health support using herbs, lifestyle adjustments, and dietary adjustments. I am the co-owner and co-founder of STROB Apothecary in Crofton, Maryland, where I also teach herbalism to my interns and to my community. Herbalism can be a really good add-on to mental health therapy and to other therapies as well. It's important to note that herbs rarely work alone. They have to be used in conjunction with lifestyle and dietary changes. They also work best when used alongside other therapies or other healing practices. Oftentimes, an herb can work by itself, but if you're not doing the other things that you need to do to help yourself, they can really only do so much on their own. The first thing a client needs to know is that the intake process is going to be a little bit more involved than what you're used to. My questionnaire is going to ask you about more areas of your life than a typical medical form does. Your initial intake interview will also be more in depth. I'm diving into different parts of your life to create the most complete picture I can of you. Your routines, your relationships, your habits, and your emotional rhythms. The other thing to understand is that herbal medicine is very, very different from taking a pill. A pill is usually an isolated chemical that creates a shift in the body. Herbs don't work that way. They involve sometimes thousands of phytochemicals working in tandem, plus a sensory experience. The taste, the smell, the flavor, all of that is part of the medicine. Sometimes herbs taste amazing and sometimes they don't. I try to make them as pleasant as possible through formulation, but the sensory experience is essential. It's part of how the body receives the medicine. My specialty, especially in mental health, is working with neurodivergent people with autism, ADHD, or other sensory sensitivities. We work together as a team to find herbs that fit your tastes, because if I give you something that you don't want to take, you're not going to take it. Luckily, herbs tend to have very few side effects. You might run into the occasional exception, but most of the time they're extremely gentle. The real challenge isn't the herbs itself, it's the habit shifting that's required. With herbal medicine, you form rituals. You have to build habits around taking your tea, or taking your tincture, or whatever preparation it is that you're using. It becomes something you integrate into your lifestyle, not just something you add on top. It's not as simple as taking a pill in the morning. That is a ritual too, but a very different kind. With herbs, it can mean boiling water, steeping your tea, taking a moment to smell and taste it in the morning. For tinctures, it's a little closer to a pill, but sometimes you have to take them in a certain way, depending on the herbs and the reasons we're using them. So the real downside for a lot of people is that it takes effort and change. You can't just rely on the herbs, you also have to change the conditions that are affecting your health. If you're having trouble sleeping, for example, I can give you every sleep herb in the world, but it's not going to work unless you're also practicing good sleep hygiene. That means things like turning your phone and computer off an hour before bed, not eating right before bed, creating a routine that allows your body to rest. So there's coaching involved, because the herbs alone aren't enough. That's part of why I call myself a coach. I understand mental health beyond just the herbal side. I help people build rituals, because sometimes the ritual itself is the medicine. It's not always about the herb, it's about the practice of caring for yourself. So the coaching I offer helps people figure out which lifestyle and dietary shifts need to happen for herbs to be most effective. I'm not a doctor, so I don't diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. What I do isn't called prescribing, it's called recommending. I recommend herbs to you, and I tell my clients, you don't have to take them, but the herbs are not going to work if you don't. Once you finish your intake, you'll receive a personalized plan. That plan will include preliminary herbal recommendations, lifestyle recommendations, and dietary recommendations. I always suggest that you start small. Ask yourself, what's the one small thing I can do right now that'll make the biggest impact? I'll guide you through that process. For obtaining your herbal medicines, I can help you in several ways. I can help you get your tinctures, I can point you to reliable teas, and I can even help you make your own formulas if you want to take that route. Sometimes the act of making the medicine is part of the medicine itself. It can be grounding and healing. I also have access to an online supplements dispensary to ensure you're always getting the highest quality if we choose to go that route. For mental health clinicians who want to collaborate, I'd say the more we communicate, the better. I work really well with counselors and therapists. I've done so in the past, and I find it's incredibly valuable. You might have spent months or years getting to know a client in depth. In comparison, what I learned from a few sessions is just a snapshot. So when we can share information, with the client's permission of course, it helps me tailor my herbal approach to the whole person. I love a HIPAA waiver because it allows for that collaboration. When I'm creating a plan, I'm not just looking at the client's diet, herbs, or prescriptions. I'm also asking, do they care for themselves? Do they have a community of care? And do they value connection? All of those things affect the way that I choose herbs. Sometimes I'm not picking an herb based on its chemistry. I might choose it based on its traditional use, its energetic or spiritual qualities, or how it fits the person's story. Herbalism can go a lot deeper than pills. It's about connection as much as chemistry. I think herbalism is a great route for people who have tried other things that just haven't worked. It requires a commitment, a willingness to change the way you live, and even the way that you see the world. Once you start learning about plants, you begin to see friends everywhere, growing in the cracks on the sidewalk, in your neighborhood, in the park, or even here in the garden. That shift in mindset, seeing yourself as connected to the living world, can be really powerful. It's not just about herbs, it's about relationship and transformation. There are certain things that are harder to work with using herbs. I don't work with diagnosable diseases per se, but within my training there are times when herbalism just is not the best fit. For example, with very severe mental health illnesses, they can be worked with using herbs, but it requires a very delicate touch. Sometimes the right approach really is medication management, and that's okay. The consultation process helps us figure that out, what's appropriate and what's safe for you. Herbalism is about seeing the world differently, seeing how we're connected to everything around us, how our mind is connected to our body, and how the way we move through the world affects us. When we approach healing from that holistic place, we aren't just fixing symptoms, we're building a new relationship with ourselves, with others, and with nature.